Good evening, good evening. This is the debut of the eye test. And eye test, we'll tell you all about it, but it's all about watching games and getting some tactical expert analysis. That's why I've got bath time here. Good evening, 10 p.m. Tuesday nights. That's when the show's going to be delivered every week. I'm grateful for everyone that's tuning in this sort of time. I know it's late. We're used to the 8:30 slot, but this is where we're going to go deep into some tactical stuff, which is going to be brilliant, I think. So welcome to everyone who's tuned in. I'm seeing TALKMU is in the house. I see FC United Forever. But more importantly, right next to me, I've got my main man, and that will be bath time with Vaughan. Bath time. I appreciate you coming on. I know you haven't been too well, but you haven't let me down. You're a loyal wingback or winger or wingman, as they say. How you doing, bruv?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm delighted to be here. It's great to be back on the United agenda, and it's quite late at night, so I suspect as I bang on about the rest defence for the next 40 minutes that we're going to get a lot of people having a nice bedtime. So this should be fun.
Bath time now, you're known to the channel. Everyone knows you're on the channel and
Yeah.
thing. But I think there's a few things they might not know. And there's a reason why I've invited you on because like your expertise when it comes to tactics, even though you play football, you also talk like a coach as well. And you've got a lot of experience. So I was wondering if you give everyone a summary about your football experience and your love of the game and why you go so deep into the game and analyze every little detail of what you're doing.
Um, all right then. Well, I was like the captain of my university football team. And like I play for two teams. One's five-side team, one's just normal 11-a-side. It's just part of my life playing football. Like I suspect, like most people here, I've been playing since I was 5 or 6. It's just something I've done. Like it's like breathing or brushing your teeth. It's just something that's like part of who I am. And as a sort of data scientist, I love systems and I love like understanding how things work. So like when I lived in South America, I like over here we don't really sort of do tactics like an amateur level, but over there they were proper into it, and I developed like around sort of 21, 22. I developed a huge love for like different ways of playing football and systems, and it's something that I've carried on, and I'm delighted that I can finally get to talk about it. So yeah, I hope that was helpful.
So you got a coach, obviously, for your football team. You got a
Hmm.
manager there. Do you
Yes.
ever sort of have a little boot room moment with him where you sit down and discuss tactics as a player to manager? I mean, is that acceptable?
Not at my current club because I moved like during COVID and stuff like that. But at my previous club, in pre-season, the sort of senior players and the coach would have a chat, and we all know people that play football in different teams and stuff, and a lot of us have like friends that went professional and things like that. So over the course of a season, you hear about different training drills and things, and you sort of it's not like you come in and you tell the manager we're playing 3-5-2 long ball now and this is the drill. You sort of discuss it and things like down the pub after some training, and about a year later it actually happens. um like
So you plant seeds. It's like planting a
yeah,
seed in someone's head. And they would say it was my idea, but really you planted that seed a year earlier.
absolutely, yeah.
That's that. Do you want to say hi to Matthew Bassett, to Rich Sports, to Mr. B? We also got Rebel in the house as well, doing a fantastic job with the Fantasy Football League. Pat Lawless as well. I hope I'm not missing anybody here. Let's see. Yeah, Box as well in the house. And yeah, Matthew, it was a fantastic show earlier for those involved in the fantasy football. But this ain't about fantasy football. This is about real football, what we've seen. So obviously, we got a new manager at Manchester United. We've been in crisis for the last year or two. We
Mhm.
had this third place finish, the second place finish, and everyone thought it was okay, but it wasn't really okay, was it? Last year was disaster. We brought a new manager in, and he just quickly, Bath, he's the right man for the job.
um On the pitch, yes. Off the pitch, we're not sure yet. But
Okay.
I think so. I think so.
Okay, so we're going to get to that. So Ten Hag obviously got a philosophy, and he's got a lot of discipline as well. I think a lot of people notice that. We've had 5 games. I unfortunately haven't seen all the games, but I've only seen the games at the weekend. But bath time, you've been doing some brilliant videos and analysing going into detail about the games that we've seen. I don't know if we want to start with like the games, or shall we start with the actual system or what we're seeing new here? So we can either start with the preseason games and talk about them afterwards, or talk about what we're seeing starting with the goalkeeper and defence. I think we should start with goalkeeper and defence and see what the differences, the major differences are. You agree?
Yeah, sure. I mean, your show,
And,
bruv. Like, whatever.
well, we're going to the games afterwards because no point talking about
Okay.
the game. We go to the defence. Okay, so your man. All right, we're going to come to it. So with the goalkeeper. Now, there was, we've heard today, I don't know if you heard the latest news, Dean Henderson was moaning because he said he was promised first team football last year. Now he's gone off to Nottingham Forest. He said he's wasted 12 months of his life at Manchester United, not getting game time. And I do feel sorry for him because there was a lot of lies and deception. You called a few people's liar at the club as well. But Dean Henderson there was a difference between Dean Henderson and De Gea that was said by a lot of people on the panel and yourself as well last season. Can you just describe the difference between the two goalkeepers and where De Gea has been lacking and the criticism has been laid at his door over the last few years, please?
All right. So with De Gea, De Gea's been at the club, like, let's say 10 years. I can't recall exactly what it is. But as football has changed, De Gea has declined. It started, I think, with that World Cup where Ronaldo, he let a shot through his legs or something.
Yeah.
De Gea is... Right, so De Gea is a sort of traditional goalkeeper who likes to sit on his line and make saves. He's very poor at 1v1s, but what he does do is he saves most things he should save. He doesn't contribute anything else really to the team. Henderson is more of a sort of sweeper keeper, which aims to deny chances before they happen. So he'll come off his line quickly to sweep a ball. He'll collect across, and also being like good at throwing and passing. He's able to be used as a springboard to get our midfield and our attack in possession quicker. So De Gea is somewhat of a sort of he's a bit of a relic of a previous age, like a coelacanth, if I've got any biologists out there. But
so,
yeah.
so to go back to square one, when De Gea first come, it was talked about his kicking was really good, but you're saying now the game's moved on so much that it's not very effective. And I understand he doesn't come off his line. His starting position should be a lot higher, maybe, and maybe he's a bit fragile. Maybe he's lacking the confidence or something. But there was a question mark about whether he would be able to adapt because clearly Ten Hag has got an idea of what sort of goalkeeper he wants. And the attributes he wants is what you're saying. Maybe Dean Henderson would have, like coming off his line, good with his feet, and helping the team build up from the back. So that we've stuck with De Gea. Henderson's gone now. He's had his pop tonight. He's had his moan, and I wish him luck. I hope he has a good season. So let's talk about De Gea. So what is the purpose now of this modern sweeper keeper, and how do we incorporate that into sort of building out from the back? So let's mix the goalkeeper attributes and what you expect from the defense from what you've seen. Just try and give us some few examples from what you've seen for the early games we've had this season about bringing the ball out from the back, and because that is a set piece now, isn't it? Because defenders now can come into the box and receive the ball from there, so it gives a good advantage now. And there's a lot of high pressing in football today. Teams like Liverpool, for example, we saw at the weekend at Charity Shield, that was really high pressing game in a way. So what are you seeing with Manchester United now? What are the major changes with goalkeeper, defence, and building up from the back, please?
Okay, so the main major change that we're seeing is that we have a completely new defensive unit. It might be comprised of players we're familiar with, but the defence now is not just the centre backs and the full backs. It's composed of 5 people, with the normal 4 defenders and Fred. And what? Okay, so we'll start with how we build up from the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we are playing with 2 centre backs who are playing wide. which means that when the keeper is in possession of the ball, the centre backs run away from each other, which means that we can
Spread out.
progress. Yeah, we can progress down either side of the pitch. Um, we are in build up. We are also having our fullbacks inverted, which is tremendously exciting, like Joe Cancelo and so on at Manchester City, which means that they're coming in alongside Fred to form a three in the midfield. Right,
Yeah.
so we've got two centre backs out wide, three in the midfield, and then the width is being provided by other midfielders, which
Mhm.
we'll get to later. But this unit of five plus De Gea is really important to how we attack and defend. And the biggest change that we're seeing is that the space between this unit and the rest of the team is much more compressed. And
What's the
because it's
advantage of having a compressed space between the team?
okay, the advantage of having the space compressed between the team is it's twofold. It's threefold actually. Um, the first thing is it allows us to do something called a counter press, which means that when the ball is lost, everyone can just descend on the person, uh, to try and win the ball back. Right.
Yeah.
The second thing is it makes it very difficult to do something called playing through the lines. You'll have heard, like everyone who's ever seen a football match will have like heard the expression, "Oh, he's put it through the eye of a needle," or "he's passed it between the lines," or whatever. It basically means it's harder to score goals against us, and this is where the sweeper keeper comes in, where if the defence and the midfield and the attack are high up the pitch or close to each other, you're vulnerable to counter attacks because there's so much space in behind. The goalkeeper is expected to come out and get the ball. Like outside of his box, even outside of his own half sometimes. And he'll be expected to come out. So we would want a keeper that's good at heading, is good at passing, that is confident in themselves. And that's sort of like the change that we're seeing. Is we're seeing a much more cohesive unit of players under Ten Hag than we have under that man who I will not name, which isn't Ole
Let's not
Gunnar
go there.
Solskjaer.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let's not go there. So let's say it's a goal kick to Manchester United,
Hmm.
and we're setting up. So you're saying the two centre backs will be wide, and ahead of him you'd have pivot Fred, for example,
Hmm.
and then you'd have the fullbacks. Maybe where would the fullbacks be? So the two centre backs would be within the penalty area. Where would the fullbacks be at this
All
point?
right. Well, this is where we're going to have to introduce some terminology about
Right.
the ball side. So the ball side is if your right centre back has the football from being passed by the keeper, that becomes the ball side. So what you would normally expect to see is the other fullback um, playing inverted. So you still have two in the midfield, and
Yep.
the right hand fullback getting forwards. And we'll
Okay.
because there's so much to talk about, but we're sort of going to try and build this quite slowly, and we'll talk about how there's rotational changes between fullbacks and the midfield a little bit later. But essentially, 90% of the time, we will be building up with three at the back, with the goalkeeper being part of that three, and
Yep.
we will mainly go wide because the the least dangerous part of a football pitch is the wide area, which
Mm.
means that it's the least contested because you have to protect the middle. And what Ten Hag has focused on, I think, is drills for us to get out of the back easily and then switch the play, and it's working really well. So,
Just for
any
example,
questions, lads?
yeah. So just for example, we played Villa, and Villa played the diamond formation, so they were
Hmm.
congested in the middle of the park. So I think we found it difficult to play out. Fred was being covered, for example, and wasn't very many options there. So in situations like that, should the fullbacks give us more width, or should we try to exploit them, double up on them, or getting the ball wider earlier? If they and because that would mean like McGinn or someone like that would have to come out wide, and then it would open up more space possibly. So does it? It's not always the same system, depending on what sort of shape you're coming up against. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's very fair. People get like really worked up about formations and so on, and as you know, I hate formations. They're a waste of time. They tell you nothing. But what you want to look at is how people defend against you in a block and how they build up from the back. Villa, um, they had a front three, right? They had sort of three. Well, they had two strikers and Coutinho
Yeah,
or someone
yeah,
defending from the front as a three, and that made it very difficult for us because it meant we had to drop a fullback back into the defence because the key. Like one of the basics of football, like you'll all know this, like yeah, at any level, is you have to have more players in the centre than the opposition team do. Right, so if
yes,
they've gone two up front, you need three back. If they've got three up front, you need four back. What was going on in the Villa match? Because that's the match where McGinn kept running past Fernandez. It must be, yeah. Um,
yeah,
the Villa match was more about our two central midfielders in De Beek and Fernandez being a bit off the pace with the system, and that was why we were finding it difficult to play through. There's nothing wrong with like the philosophy or the intention. It was, as we're going to see a lot this season, it was the execution.
right, right. So just so we go, so we've got the rest defense. You've described that really well. So we're playing the ball out from the back. Just what's the difference? Why don't keepers just run and kick it now and try to get advantage from winning the ball in the air or something like that? What's the purpose and what's the method here? What are you trying to achieve by playing the ball out from the back now these days? Because it's happening a lot,
To score
especially
more
in English.
goals.
So that's building a team.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Okay.
no, I mean
So
it's like you get more control. Like if you like when you boot the ball, when the ball leaves your foot and it's in the air, it's
yeah,
like it's anyone's. Right, it's a bit, I suppose. I don't know. This is probably going to be a really bad analogy because I haven't played cricket and I don't like it. But I suspect that when you hit the ball up in the air in cricket, it's you can be caught, so it's a risky shot.
yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but if you're booting the ball,
It's a percentage part. It's a percentage
yeah,
move.
if you're booting the ball about and having it, the other team can get the ball back. But what we're now seeing is we're seeing like playing out from the back being almost like a set piece. Where we're trying to move people around the pitch and create spaces and play through them. And this is why pressing has become a big thing because you're not allowed. You can't let the other team mess about at the back and move you around. You've got to put pressure on them because anytime you have the football, you're looking to score goals.
And they say as well, if you do so this high pressing, if you do press high and actually win the ball back, you're not far from goal, are you? And you in a couple of touches, you can actually score. So there's a lot of positives about that, no?
Well, okay, so I never know how deep to take these things. All right. So there is like pressing is a very specific thing, and it is normally the result of something called a pressing trap, right? Which is a signal. It's normally a pass across the back four. Like I mean, like I'm sure that you've drilled this in your club as well. If the left back passes to a centre back and then the centre back passes to the other centre back, it's go time. Everyone knows to go. And the reason why is that you've designed a pattern of play and you've been drilled and you've been coached to win the ball back in an opportunistic way, so that when you've won the ball back, you've got a very high chance of scoring. And that is basically what pressing is. A lot of the time, people confuse pressing with closing men down.
Yeah.
Right? That's not pressing because it's just a basic of football is that you don't give people time and space on the ball,
Yeah.
and it looks like that we're this like high press, full on caffeinated bad boy team now. But what we're really doing is that we're just defending higher up the pitch in a particular sort of defensive unit, and we're actually working. But the press itself hasn't been executed that well by Manchester United on the pre-season. It's the beginnings of it. It's baby steps. So I wouldn't be worried about it. But like, um, so I suppose what I'm saying to sort of summarize that is the press is a specific set of circumstances that leads to a response from our team to try and score a goal.
Good. And the insurance behind the press, if it does go wrong, you've got the rest defense behind that to sort of snap up anything that if they do clear the ball, if they do try to counter on you, you've got a little bit of an advantage because you're set up in a way with the rest defense, which Ten Hag's playing. You've seen it's going to back that up, and you're going to be playing a higher line, and you want that sweeper keeper to be that backup, the extra man to sweep up anything that does go over the top. So we are a bit more insured in that respect by playing the system.
Do you want to talk about the rest defense now?
Yeah, let's go and talk about the rest defense. Yeah.
All right.
101. Let's go, because this is your favorite terminology.
It's not.
It is on the Man United agenda. It is, because
right.
we love it. We love the rest defense. So let's talk about the rest defense, please.
All right, lads. Okay, so like in chat, we'll go through your comments in a bit, but this is the one that I'm going to try and react live to. So if I'm saying anything you don't understand, or it's stupid, or whatever, just put it in the comments, let us know, and we'll address it live with the power of interactive technology. So in football, you have two units. You have an attacking unit and you have a defensive unit, right?
Yeah.
The defensive unit, when you're in possession, is known as the rest defense, and it consists of 5 men, right? What this is it allows you to do 2 things. It protects you against transitions, which United have struggled with, and a transition is basically the vulnerable time after you've lost the ball, where teams can play through you. Do you remember we talked about playing through the lines?
Yep.
Basically, in a transition, that's when it's at the easiest to play through the lines. So what happens with... I've been distracted by Box talking about Ekin-Su. Sorry.
Let's read it out. He's saying, Vaughan, go to rest defense. Ekin-Su, just dance McTominay. Come on.
Yeah. Like,
Love Island's just finished. Let's get that out of his head, please. Don't encourage him.
I do love Just Dance as well. All right. So the rest defense does 2 things, right? The first thing is it supports the counter press. So when you lose the ball, 2 of the 3 men will go forwards to try and pinch it back. And what you'll see with United is that if you ever see a sort of diamond shape on a football pitch, which you'll normally see in the middle of the football pitch, players are set up like that for the counter press, because it allows you all to collapse on that man, and you've got a better chance of winning the ball back. So it's defending by being aggressively after the ball. The other part of the rest defense is about long balls. Because we're playing a high line, what we're doing is we're denying space in front of us, but we're conceding it behind us.
Yeah.
So what's the best thing to do? Boot the ball. Knock it over everyone and chase it. That's where the goalkeeper comes in. I know a lot of you will say that Maguire is too slow to play in a rest defense. You don't need speed in the rest defense. You need a goalkeeper that is able to recognise, the dangers, because the centre backs in a rest defense, what their job is to contest the ball in the air, because most teams, when aggressively pressed or in a counter press, will kick the ball. They won't have the time and the space, and they'll have to get it away from danger. It's happened time and time again on the tour. It's really exciting how good our tactical setup is. The players, there's some question marks there, but the sort of philosophy and the foundations it's absolutely brilliant. And this rest defense that we're doing, that Man City do this, most top football clubs do this, but what it means is we always have to have 5 in a defensive unit behind the ball.
Yeah.
All right, more or less. So that's what the rest defense is. It's always there. It's always vigilant. It's like an antivirus on your computer. It's ready to step in the second that the second you want to download something fun. But right, so Omondi, I think that you understand the rest defense.
It's not. I understand it, but I think you have to talk about it in simple terminology so people do. So it's 5 and 5. You've got 5 guys set up, understanding what their role is, not to let the ball to suffocate teams. So when they do play out and we're putting them under pressure, they're going to kick it long or whatever. But we're there to intercept and pinch the ball and turn it over once again. And if it does go over the top, because there's a lot of spacing behind, then you've got defenders reading the game, time and space to read the game, and the goalkeeper to sweep up and clean up everything. So we've seen that in pre-season, and that's why we conceded less goals. We've seen less, even when it is like they're countering or something. We're in a better starting position That's the whole point of the rest defence.
100%. And we're also winning the ball back further up the pitch. Like, how it's going to work is that Lisandro Martinez will be the cover defender, and Maguire will just be running forward with that big Easter Island statue head of his, just banging things.
Love
by
it.
the way, Harry Maguire's played so well in the pre-season. I know a lot of you.
I haven't paid you to say that. I know I'm a big endorser.
No, me and Omondi love Maguire. Unfortunately, Omondi doesn't like McTominay, but I will coax you all round to McTominay. Don't worry about it.
Let's go through some comments, because this is something you do when you're watching the show. You ask us to go through comments. Stop me if you want to discuss something quickly. So Box is saying, surely the goalkeeper coaches tell De Gea to claim the ball. Why does he duck the ball? Pull out of aerial duels? Is that just being scared, maybe? Something you can't really teach that, can you? I remember when he first came to, at corners and set pieces, all the opposition used to pile on him, to put him under pressure. He felt he's fragile and weak. Sorry, Sue's saying he don't come out for crosses is a worry too. So there's still a bit question mark about De Gea, the guys are saying, because we're talking about goalkeeper and defence. Box is saying Henderson is a big mouth, reminds you of Hart, but should have been given a chance as our number one for this season. So I think that's fair enough. I do think that's fair enough. Column's saying we have seen some train changes in De Gea's game in pre-season, and can't say he's a relic when he's facing on average 3.37 shots per game and save ratio of 69.2%. Any response to that?
Yeah, that's not the save ratio isn't actually a particularly helpful stat. Post shot expected goals is the one that I'd be interested in, Colm, if you're still here. Okay.
Rich Sports, how you doing, Rich Sports? Don't forget to tune into Rich Sports channel. Usually at this time, I'm taking your slot, Rich Sports. Hopefully you're not upset with me. Only once a week, by the way. Rich Sports is saying if David Gea has a chance to change, fair enough, but he did say he was going to work on his weaknesses last pre-season. Also, yeah, there you go. But this, I think we've improved our coaching. Box is saying De Gea has shot stopping has declined. In my opinion, anything so too.
Anyone thinks the same.
Anyone think the same? Okay. Do you? His shot stopping.
Well,
you said earlier. Let me just say this. You said earlier that he's not good at coming out and saving. I think he's quite good with his feet. It spreads himself quite well. I don't know if there's data or anything like that, but I think sometimes when people are in on goal, he does seem to sort of spread himself up, not in a Schmeichel way, but he's good saving with his feet. I know a lot of his just from the eye test, I think he saved a lot with his feet, but I don't know about the stats. I was just wondering why you said that earlier about him rushing out.
Because he's poor at one. He's poor at one-on-ones.
Okay. All right.
He doesn't narrow his angles. He doesn't narrow his angles particularly well.
Okay.
But that's why I said it.
That's cool. But I just want to say hi to Ross. Ross is saying massive insights here, enjoying this thoroughly. Thank you very much. Felix Flex is saying to maintain possession. I think that's to do with the overall goal of bringing the ball out from the defence. I think that's what he's trying to say there. Emma K, how you doing? Saying Heaton might get time in one of the cups if he could possibly be first choice at some point if De Gea is not doing it. So that's our backup. Obviously, number 2 is Heaton. You think Heaton's got good backup after what you saw the other day?
I don't know about Heaton. I mean, at Manchester United, we've been very, very spoiled by our backup keepers in the last 10 years. We've had Victor Valdez, Sergio Romero. And Henderson, and Heaton's going to be a downgrade on every single one of them. But I'm not sure a backup goalkeeper's job is just simply being a backup goalkeeper. I think they have other roles, to sort of support the main goalkeeper with training. So I've got no idea, to be honest, but I'd like a new.
We had Andy was on the other day, and he was really impressed. He went to the game, and he was really impressed with how he played. He thought Heaton was really vocal and rushing out and being that kind of sweeper keeper. It's interesting that, because I've never really followed his career, but he's back with us now, and but he might. Unfortunately, if De Gea gets injured, he's the guy. He's the number 2, isn't he? Box is saying confidence is borderline arrogance. It's a fine line. I get his anger at being lied to. Just talking about Henderson not being played when De Gea was poor, but at the same time, he should have kept his mouth shut. even though he's left the club. Olukunle saying that's why I say Bruno will struggle as he hasn't got the brains to press. And this is something you can comment on because I think you agree with this, don't you? He showed that under Ralph running around like a headless chicken. And do you want to? You mentioned something to me before about bending your run and being able to press.
Yeah.
Bruno seems to visibly he seems to do a lot of work, but it's maybe not intelligent work. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm loath to agree with Olakunle, but he is right. He is right on this one. But you know,
Say that louder. Say that again.
a broken clock is right twice a day. Okay, it doesn't mean it's something you're going to turn to as being reliable. Sorry, Ola. Yeah, so it's like all right. So a particular example is bending a run, which is where you don't run in a straight line because what it means is it means it not only pressures the guy on the ball, it cuts out one of his passing lanes. So if you sort of like if you start out wide and run in, like and you picture it in your head, you can see that there's less space for the guy to pass it to. And Bruno, he's energetic and stuff like that. But I posted a shocking clip the other day. I don't know if you saw it on Monday.
I did.
It was an extract from my video where against Aston Villa, I can't swear, can I? The referee
post 9 o'clock.
Bruno got lapped by a fucking referee.
Okay.
The ref started behind him in a transition, and he just ran past him. Right, that's
God.
not acceptable.
Yeah.
All right, maybe one swear word. Maybe once we'll add one swear word.
You're fine. You're fine with that.
All right.
Considering we're talking about Bruno, we're going to talk about going to the midfield now. I think we can obviously later on in other shows we can talk about this in more detail. So the midfield now. So we've just discussed Bruno, and you've got a few issues with him. So with the midfield, we've talked about the defense, the rest defense, how we're bringing stuff out from the back, the ball out from the back, building as a team, and more possession. We've got by the way, we've got Martinez and a left back in as well. And you think they're just quickly? Do you think there'd be important players to help us improve our strategy now?
Yeah,
technique-wise, maybe. Yeah, Martinez and Malacia.
Yeah, I think Martinez will be like he'll be a massive upgrade for the team of two reasons. One is he's got pace, right?
Yeah.
And that allows us to play higher up the pitch. So, you know, like Maguire allows us to play higher up the pitch because he can head the ball, and Martinez allows us to play higher up the pitch because he's got recovery pace. He's also left-footed. That means that more passing angles are open from the back. So he will be absolutely fantastic for the team. There are questions about his physicality and all this kind of stuff, but you know you can set a team. You can set a team up to help defend them. Hello, Andrew. But Malathea, on the other hand, I don't know. I can do it right now for anyone that's interested. The Love Island review, but I don't think I'm allowed.
No. Bad timing. There's a couple of things, All right, so we come back to the defenders later. So midfield, we're going to talk about the shape now.
Yes.
What have you seen? Have all the games been the same? Are we playing a 4 at the back? You mentioned about Man City. So we've got one deeper midfielder and 2 8s. Is that correct? How are you seeing things over the last 5 games?
Okay. So this is all quite complicated. So, well, I'm going to make it complicated, but I'm going to try and simplify it as much as possible. So in the midfield, we're basically playing 3 midfielders, right? There's 3 there.
Yeah.
What Ten Hag has been doing is he's been using the fullbacks to make this midfield. So we'll have the 2 centre backs, and then in front of them we'll have a single pivot with 2 fullbacks next to him, inverted fullbacks. Yeah. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, that all sounds nice, but I've been watching the games and I've seen Delot getting forward, I've seen Shaw getting forward, and you big fraud, you told me earlier that you need 5 people at the back at all times. So what's going on? So what's going on there is that we're using positional play, which means rotations. And what you will see with our first choice midfield at the moment is probably Fred, McTominay, and Bruno. Right? All right.
I don't like it. Yeah,
I know you don't like it. But I think that's what it is. So to allow either let's say that Shaw's starting, to allow either Shaw or Delot to get forward, one of Bruno or McTominay has to swap places with him.
Yes. Yeah.
And one of the reasons I think people are getting so annoyed with Bruno and why Donny van der Beek isn't performing particularly well is that they're not swapping with their fullbacks. So instead of the 5 of an attacking unit, we've got 6, and that's making us that's
Vulnerable.
dangerous, lads.
Yeah.
If
Agreed.
no rest defense. If
Yeah.
there's 6 up front, there's no rest defense. So and also McTominay and Bruno don't just interchange with the fullbacks. They can also interchange with the wingers. And our right hand side looks so good this season because of the interchanges primarily of Sancho, McTominay, and Delo. They've really got the system down. Whereas on the left hand side, we are struggling a wee bit with Bruno, Rashford, and Shaw. Like, hopefully, they need more time. But that is essentially what we're doing in the midfield, where the 2 8s or 3 8s are supporting both attack and defence. And one of them is doing it extremely well, and one of them isn't. And I'll leave it up to you to decide who I'm talking about. It's McTominay.
I know. Yeah, we've heard this. McTominay's doing really well, and Donny isn't.
Yeah, Donny's a busted flush, lads.
You know what, Bath time, you've covered everything I wanted to discuss about midfield. You've covered all the terminology, everything I wanted to discuss. Just the single pivot. Now, why are we after Frankie de Jong? What's Frankie de Jong going to offer us? And what position would he be playing? Because I've had an argument with Gunnar King from Arsenal TV, Armory TV, whatever. He's saying he's going to play as a number 8. I'm saying no, he's going to play as a number 6 for us and be that where Fred's playing at the moment. So what's the importance of Frankie de Jong? What ability does he have that's going to make us pay the extra 17 million that is owed, and we're so desperate to get this guy and give him 400 grand a week? What do you see there with him?
I don't know.
Without being personal about what you think, what's his quality?
All right. So de Jong, I'm 100% convinced will play as a number 6. Just like, there's no way he's playing as an 8. I don't actually know a huge amount about de Jong. I don't even know if I've seen him play. I don't think I've seen more than 20 minutes of him playing. What I do know, however, is what a decent player in the number 6 can do. And with Fred, you know, like, as part, I do like Fred, but he terrifies me a lot of the time. He's erratic with his passing. He's incredibly poor. Any kind of physical duel. Like, you can think of any game last season, like that Southampton one, where some teenager just ran through him. He's poor at that, and he's also, whilst he's a competent dribbler, it's not something you associate with him. What I would expect to see from Frankie de Jong is I would see someone who's extremely comfortable on the ball, particularly on the half turn. Someone who's very good at varied passes, so he can play short, long, direct, but in particular switches is what I'd like to see. Fred's not a very good switch passer, which means hitting it to the other flank, and I would expect him to be good at carrying, which is not necessarily dribbling past people, but just carrying the ball up the pitch so that we can get further up the pitch and really sort of hem them in. And I think that with what we're missing at the moment from Manchester United is we're not seeing a lot of play through the middle. We played a team that I can't remember, Rayo Vallecano. We played them on Sunday, and we saw some different things in that game to anything else in pre-season, where we saw Eriksen, Bruno, and it was
Donny.
Eriksen, Donny, and there was someone else there. I can't remember. Fred. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it? No, it was Garner. Thank you.
Sorry, Garner. Yeah, I've got the line up here. Garner.
Yeah.
Garner,
we saw
Donny, and Eriksen.
We saw a lot of rotations between Garner and Eriksen, with Eriksen coming deep to play, and I think this might be hope. This might just be hope, but I think that means that we're training for de Jong to come to the football club, because whilst de Jong is best at a number 6, he will be incredibly useful. Occasionally moving into the 8 role during a match, and Eriksen's ability to switch the play is also great to have, in the single pivot, which is a pivot is designed to get yourself going, get the team up, and a springboard, a launch pad.
So just the qualities you've announced here about what's his name, Frankie de Jong.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's like you say Fred is lightweight. Maybe people say Fred's lightweight, not physical enough, and there's a concern when he's the single pivot and people are putting pressure on him. There's even a quote from Troy Deeney who said that was their game plan to put pressure on Fred. But it's not like Frankie de Jong's a big, solid, enforcer, is he? It's just that he's got more ball ability and he's able to sort of play his way out of trouble a lot of the time. So he can't get rushed, and you don't see him getting in danger that often, do you? Regardless, so
I don't see him play.
It's not about physicality. That's what I'm basically trying to say about physicality.
And even though Fred also win free kicks, which is important. Like Fred never does that. It's one of the things that annoys me most about him is he never just, when you see Neymar falling over because it's a bit windy, like it's very important skill to have. Like I am a massive diver when I play football. Like I'm down all the time like a submarine because. Yeah. If you see your team is out of position or out of shape, honestly, the easiest way to sort it out is to take a dive, and then you can structure your team. And
there's knowing how to adjust your body to the referee can't refuse it. If someone comes in from behind, I'm going down as big as I am. I'll do the same. So I will go for some comments because we're going to wind off the midfield. Stop me if you want to talk about something here. Olakune is saying he seems to occupy the same space as Ronaldo when they're both in the same team. He's talking about Bruno here.
Yeah, I do not know what's happened to the real Olakunle because this can't possibly be him. He's correct again. He's correct again. Like Bruno is. When we talk about the forwards, we'll get more to this, but it is a good point, Ola, that we'll address.
Just a quick one. I'm going off topic here, but Andrew Williams, how you doing, Andrew? He's asking, question for you two. Have we closed the gap on Chelsea, Spurs and Arsenal? In a word?
Yes.
I agree. Olakune is saying Fred gets a raw deal from Manx. Under Ola, he was the best at pressing. Scott is stealing and living at a top 6 club.
He's back.
Okay, we'll move on. Yeah. Paul, I want to say welcome to Paul. How you doing, man? Haven't seen you before. Paul Banda. He's saying, are you comfortable in the right back position? As the right back position needs an upgrade, he reckons. I think so. Yeah, I think with Dalot.
You think an upgrade?
I think we need a backup there because there's talk about going on loan, and Wan-Bissaka hasn't been getting many games. I don't know what's going on with him. So that seems like a position we need to strengthen possibly. Andrew Williams saying I think Fred is passable. I don't think he lacks a bit of. I think he lacks a little bit of tactical nous, but he's got a good engine. So just a few qualities of Fred. And negativities as well. Andrew's also saying Fred, Eriksen, Bruno. That would be his midfield three. There's a few more. There's a few more here. Flex is saying I would do Fred, Eriksen, Bruno ahead of them. So he agrees. Box is saying we need Vaughan on the coaching setup at Man United. They brought in Benny McCarthy and they brought in Tom Huddleston.
I love Tom Huddleston as a footballer.
What a player! Yeah,
I really liked him. Like
overlooked a lot of the time. He was fast like a dream. Great player, great touch.
Like a big wardrobe that had magic in his chest drawers.
Box is saying Hudson, Van der Beek, and Fernandes in the midfield three. He's still got it. Andrew's saying Frankie de Jong will surely link the defense to with the midfield. Yeah, that's agreed. And Andrew Williams saying the role of the number 6 or Frankie de Jong will be to sit in front of the back four. I would leave it there before we go on. A couple more here. Dalot, no awareness, says Andrew Williams. Benny McCarthy was a good striker. And just to endorse what we were just saying about Hudson can definitely strike a ball really clean. That's for sure. Yeah, so just a couple here. One more here from Box and Brush I'm going to come to. Box is saying, I'd love a CM, centre midfielder. Ruiz, Kovacic and Brozovic. The two Serbians. Brozovic, he was on a freebie from Inter, I believe, but I don't know what's happened with him. And Brush is saying, how you doing, Brush, by the way? Where's your popcorn? Says, when it's all said and done, I hope it's not Luke we end up with. What's he meaning there?
I think he means Luke de Jong instead of Frankie.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Guys, I hope you're happy in the midfield. We're going to go on to forwards now. And where's forwards? We know it's like the left inside forward, the number 9, and the right inside forward as well, or winger, depending on what foot he's got. So, forwards, what's the role of number 9, for us because Martial, we've missed out Ronaldo. He's only played 45 minutes in pre-season. What's the role of the number 9, and what have you seen Martial do? Has he sort of turned it around for you? Has he turned your head?
Not really. I've always been a huge Martial fan. Like I've always liked him as a footballer, and I wish that he liked himself as much as I like him, because he appears to lack sort of self-belief and confidence, but he's such a beautiful combination player. All right, so what is happening with Martial is Martial has like two main jobs at the moment. One is he is the first point of our press. So
Yeah.
our press so far, I've said that it's not particularly good, because it's not refined. But the three forwards, being Rashford, Sancho, and your man Martial, have been exceptional at what they've been doing in like their defensive roles. I'm blown away by Rashford being good at this. I thought he was really going to struggle, but he's been fantastic. So what they have to do is they have to do a lot of hard work when the other team is in possession of the ball, in order to allow us to keep them squeezed up the pitch. And for all those guys that are talking about like, can like Ronaldo, like can he play in a sort of like a high press team, that this is what it's about. It's that Martial is putting pressure quickly on the opposition team. That means it's very difficult for them to build up from the back, and when that happens, they boot it into our rest defense, and that's what we're about. So Martial's doing that. The second thing that Martial is doing, and I am up for being told I'm an idiot here by people in comments, but I think Martial is playing more of a false 9 than a 9. And what he's holding his run a lot on the transition. So when we're counter-attacking, you'll see Martial stop a lot of the time, and that causes huge problems for the opposition team, because you imagine you're running and the guy that you're marking just stops and you carry on running, just like looking at him thinking, hang on a minute, I've got to go and sort this out. And the other thing that he's doing is, earlier on, our good friend Ola said that Bruno was just like running forward into the same space as Ronaldo. This is true, but what Martial is doing is Martial is making he's making forward runs with his back to goal. So he's running away from the goal, and he's creating a pocket of space that Bruno is running into. Yeah. So allowing him either to use his combination play skills and receive it tight, pass, get a free kick, whatever, or a direct ball that is allowing Bruno to get through on goal. So Martial is, as everyone knows, Martial is playing out of his skin. It's whether we're being seduced by pre-season and and all these sort of things. Whether it starts against Brighton. Yeah.
So,
okay,
so the purpose of this little movement that Martial is doing, so you're saying he's coming a little deeper. He's just to shift the defenders out of the way and to drop their shape to give more gaps. You were saying about second runs by midfielders running into the space that's been created by a little bit of movement by Martial, for example.
Yeah, all right. So in football, what you will a traditional number 9. Like, I don't know why this man has come to mind, but I'm sure a lot of us remember the beautiful Duncan Ferguson, who was a big aggressive striker. And what he used to do is he used to do something called pin centre backs, where you would have two centre backs around him, and he would basically be static, but he wouldn't necessarily be in the centre of the pitch. And what that would do would allow more space out wide. So what you, Andrew,
don't get distracted. Don't get distracted.
No. He knows I'm a behavioural scientist. Come on. I am getting distracted, right? Right. So what Martial is doing is he is going into a position where it's very difficult for the two centre-backs to come and mark him, because they're going to be in the midfield if they do that. And Bruno is then running into that space. So all rotational play is about confusing the opposition and putting players in places that they don't want to be.
So if we're coming up against like a low block, for example, would this be effective to sort of drag defenders out of position and create
absolutely
sort of stretch them a little bit? So you're very pleased with what we're seeing at the moment with the forward line and how we.
I'm delighted with what we're seeing
Yeah.
from the forward line, particularly the defensive things. Don't get me wrong, there's lots to work on, but we're further ahead than I thought we would be with the new coaching, and a lot of our forwards aren't going to the World Cup, unfortunately. I can't see Sancho, Rashford, or Martial
Fortunately
going.
for us.
Yeah, and that means that we're going to have like six
Australia.
weeks or whatever it is, 4 weeks of
Yeah.
more Ten Hag classes. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the forwards.
Just want to read this comment out here because there's
Mm.
so many other comments here. But this is just to endorse you. You've been. He said this guy knows his stuff. Bath time. You have to take that one and accept it. You're not boring. You're stimulating to everyone who's watching this right now, especially RJH Radio Sangang. I hope I'm pronounced that correctly. He bigging you up. That's a big endorsement there.
Cheers, bro.
Question: Matthew Bassett is saying Duncan Ferguson, classic number 9, big, physical, aggressive, no nonsense kind of player. And Bath time is saying he can pin down 2 defenders. He can occupy 2 defenders because of his size and aerial ability and that thing. Another thing on Andy Long here is saying Big Duncan would get at least 3 red cards if he played in today's game, which is true.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Dalot when you mentioned Dalot earlier and Wan-Bissaka. I don't know if you're keeping up the comments, but Man United valued him at 50 million when they paid it. They should have put more bonuses on his contract like Martial. Sorry, I thought that was about Wan-Bissaka.
It is about Wan-Bissaka. It's
it is.
yeah, because we pay. I mean, he's like one of the most mad transfers ever with the price that we paid for him, and we paid a lot for Martial, but we had mad clauses, didn't we? Like Ballon d'Ors and World Cups and things in it.
Oh,
So
wow.
we didn't actually pay that much money for Martial.
Okay. All right, we're coming to the close of the show. Last bits here. Just talking about improvements. I didn't get a chance to go through the games individually, but we've all seen the games. I'm sure most of you have seen the games. But for me, the improvements are, I think, the players are getting on board with the manager with the discipline side of things. I think they need discipline. They're like children. They all need discipline. I'm really happy to see that they're following instruction. It's you have to be. You can't disrespect people like that, especially your manager. They're following instruction and they're trying to get it. So I'm seeing improvements there with the mentality of the players. They're a bit more professional now, it seems. And the manager's not playing around. He's not a guy to joke with, like maybe Ollie. You could have sort of pointing the finger at him in that respect. And improvements as well, like you said, what we just discussed all throughout the show about picking up the system, improving game by game, regardless of the result. We're seeing improvements and youngsters coming in and doing a job and looking brilliant a lot of the time. We'll come on to that in a minute. But the most important thing for me is probably defence. I think our defence has looked better, and it does come down once again to the rest defence because we've got insurance now. We're not getting countered. We haven't got players in front of the play and defence getting rushed upon, which was happening a lot last season. So for me, initially, from what I've seen, that's the improvement for me. A bit more security and a bit more control of the football. Improvements for you for what you've seen in the last 5 games, please.
I think the first improvement is the work rate from the team.
Yeah.
Work rate is one of the most important things to me, like in my game and from my teammates, and it's what I want to see from like our heroes out at United. I want a team that works hard for each other. So I was absolutely delighted when McTominay decided to take on half the Athletic team. That Fred was there, that Dalot was there. They all came in for the scrap, and I'm a big fan. The biggest improvement is we look like a team, and when I say we look like a team, there's so many elements to that. We're working in units. We're hunting players down as a unit so that the other part of the team can go. There's cohesion behind everything that we're doing. Now, a lot of the problems that we will have come from the second sort of squad players. We don't have depth, and that's a big problem. And when we played Rayo Vallecano at the weekend, that is genuinely one of the worst performances I have seen from a United team. It is up there with like Watford and Liverpool last season. I have never seen a team be played through by a bunch of mid-table Spaniards that easily. There was so much space between the lines. Do you remember we were talking earlier about how you play nice and compact to make it difficult for teams to break you down?
For sure, yeah.
They were down our left wing, they were down our right wing, they were through the midfield. I saw them create a chance from the centre back with 3 passes, that is criminal. And a big problem with this, and I think we should probably address this in a different show, but a big problem of this was Ronaldo, Donny van de Beek, and Eriksen. Um, I know we all love Eriksen at the moment, but I have serious issues with him defensively. But I'm hoping it was just because it was his first game. But that is the thing that concerns me most, is that if we have an injury to one of our forwards and we get someone like Chong or Palestri or Garnacho in, we do not look good defensively.
Yeah.
Like
it's interesting that because Garnacho, I think, was responsible for the goal that we needed. He didn't get back and left the fullback isolated. And the fullback didn't do a good job either. He allowed him to come on the inside. He was looking for the overlap, and he was in 2 minds there. But you said it's interesting because you accused Rashford of not working hard enough to get back. But you said over the last 5 games, Rashford has really stepped it up, like you said. So the improvements you're saying about work rate, that's a great example of Rashford, because you might. This is the thing I like about you. You don't seal a stamp on somebody and mark them for life. He's turned it around, and rightly so. And you've actually. Bigged him up for that. So fair play. Rashford has put the work in.
Yeah, shout out Marcus. Long may it continue. Less books, more tracking back.
All right, we're going to end now with a conclusion because we're coming up to an hour of the show. What's your conclusion about pre-season and going into this new season? We've got Brighton this Sunday. Do you think it's just about... Let's just quickly talk about the players that have come in. We've got Martinez, Malacia, Eriksen, and who else is there? There's 3.
That's it, isn't it?
Okay, maybe that's it. But what do you think about the players that come in? Do you think they will have adapt? And do you think they're good signings? And who else do you think we need to come in? How many more? What positions do you think we need to cover? And the conclusion: are you happy with Ten Hag? And what's you feel optimistic?
I'm very happy with Ten Hag at the moment. I do have my doubts over him, but nothing to do with his tactics or anything like that. I'm more worried about his experience with dealing with a big football club, because we're going to look like right dickheads if Frankie De Jong doesn't come to the club. We've wasted 12 weeks on him. And Ten Hag, I think, is pushing that. So that sort of stuff, really concerns me. But we will find out. We'll find out in time. The new signings. Malacia is okay. He's only played a couple of games. He understands the system, but I don't think that he's the massive upgrade on Luke Shaw that everyone thinks he is. Okay. I would expect Luke Shaw will emerge to be the number one left back this season. Martinez, very excited by him. Looks a great signing. But then again, I thought that about Varane, and Varane's been poor, to be perfectly honest. So I'm really excited that Martinez will do well. Eriksen's a wonderful player. He has to be used correctly, and I'm excited about that. So I think with the signings we've got, I think that they're all sensible signings that make sense. Bit concerned about the money we paid for Martinez, to be honest. 50 million is a hell of a lot of money to pay for a centre-back from Ajax. Yep. Where we need to strengthen, we absolutely 100% need a pivot player, which would be De Jong. If we can't get De Jong, I don't know, I'm sure chat will throw loads of names of footballers I've never heard of from RB Leipzig and stuff, but I don't care who it is. Bring me Harry Winks. But we need another body in there, and we need a striker and a wide forward.
Well, hopefully we'll be getting these players in for sure.
Yeah, if we just get 2 of them in, if we just get a wide forward and a midfielder in, we'll be pretty good, I think, for Champions League from what I can see so far.
So just to finish up a couple things here, Brush is saying he has us finishing between 5th and 8th at the moment. Andrew Williams is saying Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool, City are levels above us still. Olakunle is saying Erik ten Hag expecting to have a lot of possession in games, and that's what he wants Frankie de Jong as his CDM for. And finally, Flex Felix is saying, I'm fine with finishing 5th as long as we focus all our energies on winning the Europa. That will get us into the Champions League, I imagine. Rich Sports is saying, because I think there's a chance, it doesn't mean I think it's likely to happen. So there's still a lot of doubt in the comments here. No one's really convinced about what's going to happen. Andrew Williams is saying in 4th and 6th, you lack imagination. Your lack of imagination worries him, Rich. So come on, be a bit more optimistic than that, Rich. And finally, we pay Ajax £60,000 a week per appearance for Martinez over the next 5 years too.
What?
So yeah, apparently that's true. I just want to say hi to Paul again. Once again, welcome to the channel. This is Tuesday every week, 10 p.m. We're doing this show. Just a bit more detail about what we're seeing tactically about Manchester United because we've got a new boss and a new era. Paul's saying here we need a right back, right winger, and a striker. Then we will finish 3rd. So there you go. There you go. So that was our debut show. Guys, in the comments, if you like the show, just give us a like. Press the like button. Tell your friends about it as well. Because Bath Time, I think, delivers a real good insight into the game, which we don't really get generally on the show normally at Man United Agenda. But I'm really pleased to have you on Bath Time.
Thank you.
I think brilliant today. You've explained everything in detail about what we're seeing at Manchester United over the last 5 games, and hopefully you're going to be with us almost every week to sort of go through and review each game, starting with Brighton this weekend. I'm quite confident we're going to get a result here. I'm really enthusiastic about what we're seeing on the pitch. And I know there's a lot of negatives that you've pointed out, but overall, I'm really excited about the manager and the new direction we're going in. And the show as well. I'm really excited about the show, doing the show every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Any final words before we sign out?
Yeah, cheers for having me on. It's great to be back. Really enjoyed Love Island, but like football season has started, and the lads watching in chat. I know it's an hour of talking about rest defences. So I'm so delighted that a lot of you have stayed. And if you have any questions, feel free to send them to us on social media, and my secretary Monday will handle it.
Or on the actual YouTube channel, on the comment section after the show, you can put something.
Oh yeah. Like write something funny in there.
Yeah.
Do you need to shill your fantasy football stuff or anything?
No, I'm involved, but I'm not taking it too seriously. I think these guys making changes every week and all this kind of thing. I'm just going to leave my team and just see how they get along. I think I've got a good enough team not to come bottom at least. But I don't know. I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everyone watching along. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week at 10 p.m. This has been the eye test, but it's also a lot of data and a lot of information as well to add to that. But let's do the eye test this week. Watch Man United be live on TV. Hope you enjoy the game. We're doing a live watch along as well, and we're doing a post-match review. And then obviously give me time, a couple of days, and we'll be back going into real detail about what we've seen, because these games really matter now. So this is where crunch time. No more friendlies. This is the real deal. Back to the Premiership, and that's what we really wanted out here. So anyway, Bath Time. Big up, man. Enough respect to you. Love every time. Love to everyone in the comments, and we're signing out. See you later.
Ciao.